Well, the Reserve Bank of India meets once every 2 months. What they decide on is where the repo rate is at. How does the repo rate impact someone like you or me? Well, it translates essentially to the loan rates or the loan or the borrowing cost within the economy. Currently, the repo rate is at 6.25%. At the start of this financial year, the repo rate was at 4%. That's a substantial hike with regard to the repo. That's translated already on the economy. Now, in the month of February, which is tomorrow, as the MPC announces its repo rate going forward, it's expected by most economists that repo will go up by 25 basis points. That is 0.25%. That means the repo will now go from 6.25 to 6.5%, and your loan rates will get more expensive by 0.25% going forward. This is of course only if the terms and conditions of your loan state that it's a floating rate loan. Now, what is used to determine what the RBI does with the repo? The first point is growth. Currently, the advanced GDP estimates released by the Ministry of Statistics suggest that the growth for FY23 will be at 7%. This is India growth, of course. At the start of this year, we saw the RBI project India's growth, again as part of the MPC, projected India's growth for FY23 at 7.8%. So let's say it was roughly 8%. Currently, which is in December of 22, which is the last meeting, the MPC projected India's growth rate at around 6.8%. So the Ministry of Statistics expects the growth to be slightly higher, 10 or 20 bips here or there, but essentially that's where it's at. Now, the other piece that gets influenced or that is used as an influencing factor for the MPC in its repo rate is inflation. Inflation, as you all well know, has been quite high. Let's talk about that. In April of 2022, inflation was at 7.8%. RBI has a band within which they have to keep inflation, which is 2% to 6%. At 7.8, that was a bit high. So they had to bring it back down. And that's exactly what they've done by hiking the repo. They've brought down inflation, and with it, of course, they've brought down growth. Now, what does the MPC have to do going forward? There are a couple of other factors which are also at play. Oil prices impact inflation. Oil prices have been coming off, which is aiding inflation. Inflation currently is at 5.7%, which is the latest data for the month of December. 5.9% for the month of November. So it's been consistently coming off. That's a positive for the MPC. Second, food inflation and WPI, which is wholesale price inflation, that has also been coming off. Q1 food and WPI was at 10% and 16% respectively. Currently, food inflation is at a mere 1% for the month of December, and WPI is at 5%. So you're seeing a taper in those inflation rates, which is definitely a positive with regard to where the rates will go going forward. The last piece of the puzzle is currency, as well as where global central banks are positioned with regard to their rates. The US Federal Reserve is hiking rates, which means that India will also require to hike rates. That influences India because it influences the Indian currency. The currency will depreciate, which is rupee will become 85 to the dollar, 90 to the dollar if we do not continue to hike rates. That's why hiking rates for that reason also becomes important. So the RBI MPC has to keep its eye on so many balls while really deciding on which track to take the repo rate at. But currently we're expecting a neutral stance and a 0.25% increase in the repo rate.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.